If you've thought about starting a podcast for your business, you've probably found yourself hesitating and wondering where to start. Good news, Press Record, the playbook to launching a podcast by my friend and mentor, Joanne Bolt, is the solution you've been craving. This course is the one I wish I had when starting the Motivated CEO podcast. It's easy to follow for a solopreneur without a large team, with step-by-step instructions to get you from vision board to earbuds in less than 3 weeks. Launch your podcast today by going to podcasther.com/Amy and clicking the Launch a Podcast button. I'll see you on the airwaves.
TIAA is on a mission. Why? Because 54% of Black Americans don't have enough savings to retire. So in collaboration with big-name artists like Wyclef Jean, TIAA released Paper Right, new music inspiring a new financial future, with 100% of streaming sales going to a nonprofit that teaches students how to invest. Stream Paper Right now and help close the gap.
Are you ready to take your business to the next level and make the money you want so that you can create the impact you desire? Then you're in the right place. It's possible to run a successful business built around your life. Get ready for a little bit of tough love and a whole lot of strategy to grow your business without sacrificing your sanity. If you're ready to get out of your own way and step into the role of CEO, then let's go. I'm Amy Traw, and this is the Motivated CEO Podcast. Welcome back into the Motivated CEO Podcast. Today's episode is going to be so good. I am so excited to have Geta with me today. We are going to be talking about our number one asset in our business, which is our health. And a lot of times as entrepreneurs, it's easy to shove that to the side, but health is truly wealth, as Geta says, and we are diving into that topic today. So with that being said, Geta, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. This has been on my mind to just ask you to be on this podcast because your podcast is so amazing for entrepreneurs and you give sustainable, tangible tools. So that's what I'm here for. And I'm like, hey, you and I, we are very similar in that. So yes, thank you. Yes, I'm Geta. I'm a gut health practitioner and certified nutritionist. I specialize in reversing and healing your chronic illness and autoimmune 100% through nutrition. Most people, when they hear gut health, they think, oh, she sells supplements. That is actually not what I do. I actually make sure that we have sustainable habits in place, make sure the gut-brain connection is ideal, making sure that we have and build sustainable habits for you to have sustainable results.
Yeah, the key is sustainability here, because if it's not sustainable, you're going to burn out so quickly. And I think that's something that as entrepreneurs, it's easy to get sucked into that hustle culture. And when we're constantly hustling, a lot of times that our health gets pushed to the side. So why do we shouldn't, we're not saying this is optional. This is necessary, that we need to make our health a priority.
So having an online practice and having a chronic illness, and I serve chronic illness warriors, the main thing that I'm going to say, and then we'll kind of just unpack from here, is that if you don't have the bandwidth, the threshold, if you are not fully there for your clients, you're not going to have a business. That's really the whole thing. Done. That's the episode.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's one of those things we take for granted, right?
Yeah. Yeah. If you are there, especially no matter what business you're in, whether you are a service-based or a product-based business, being able to be attentive to detail, serve your people fully, those things all incorporate you having a more sustainable business where you don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, what's the next thing I'm posting on Instagram stories? Oh, what's the next post I'm going to make? Oh, what's the next reel I'm going to make? Those things come from us being able to have the tools and the skills and the education and all the things that we are and who we are. We're able to directly put all that energy into our clients, and our clients then will then refer other people, they share out our stuff, they feel like they are safe, and they should be safe, not just feel, but be safe, right? Create your own community and create your own little, world of, the client definitely needs to be helped. That is where all your energy should go. And when we're talking about energy and where all your not just energy, but like your thought process and the things that you think about when you are scrolling, when you are doing these things, right? Understand that this all needs to come from that same point of serving your clients. And when you serve, let's say you don't have, let's say you're brand new in business, right? And let's say that you have a goal of having, I don't know, 100K a year, right? And you're like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And you have all these things in plan. Okay, I'm going to launch this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to plan this. I'm going to do, you have all the things. And that's the thing, right? Because when you're an entrepreneur, it's not the fact that you don't want to do things. It's like we so overly complicate things that in all that, the list that you make of the things that you want to do you actually have in your list there, like, go outside and spend 10 minutes outside? Do you have that in your schedule? Do you have it in your schedule that 3 days, 4 days, maybe even 5 days a week, you go to the gym? Do you stretch? Are you doing those things? And these things are absolutely free, right? Okay, so maybe the gym isn't free, but like YouTube is. And like, I'm going to tell you, hand on my heart, like, I did this for the longest time because I also have small kids. I have a 2 and a 4-year-old now, but I started my business when my daughter was 4 months old and my son was 2 and a half or two. Oh my God, he just had turned two. And it was a mess. And we had a very small apartment and, they were running around like crazy. And one of my biggest fears was that no one's going to take me seriously because I have kids running in the background. And immediately that just was like, that's not going to happen if I serve my clients and my clients have major success. But I also couldn't be there for them if I wasn't looking out for myself.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love how you said, like, is it in your schedule? Because I intentionally have to make the time for it because we're always jaded to think that, oh, I'll just find the time. One of these days I'll have the time to do this, do that. Well, especially if you, depending on the season of life that you're in, you're not going to magically find more time. You have to be intentional and prioritize the things that will actually benefit you. And your health is priority number one. And I loved how you said, stop overcomplicating it. Like it's simple things. It's simple things like going outside for 10 minutes and getting some vitamin D because you're in Michigan, I'm in Ohio. Like we've got some major vitamin D deficiency issues because it's so gray here. But when you're taking the time, the benefits of that far outweigh the 10 minutes that you're going to devote to that. And I think a lot of times people try and make these big, massive shifts and massive changes. Just like this episode, it's coming out at the beginning of the year and we're all having an emphasis on our health right now. But what happens by February? Most of us have gone back to those old habits. So I love how simple that you're breaking it down because it makes sense that if you're able to show up as your best self, then you can best serve your clients. You can make more money. You can make a bigger impact because now you're being proactive instead of reactive.
Exactly. And you are controlling the controllables. I think this is a big thing of also having a chronic illness is I personally am hyper fixated on what can I control. I am a type A perfectionist. So I have my own me too.
Me
Yes.
too.
So I have my own podcast and I did not realize that people didn't know this. So we are also having like guests on the podcast and all this stuff. And at the end of each podcast, I'm like, okay, so I actually have to listen to this episode first, and then I'm going to edit it, and then, all that stuff. And a few guests have been like, wait, you actually re-listen to this entire thing? I'm like, the entire thing, right? So like, if you're listening to this and you're like, well, like, yeah, well, maybe she has like a chronic illness and she has 2 kids, but like, maybe she just kind of skips a step, or maybe she just kind of has this easy flow in life, right? I don't. There's a pro and a con of being a perfectionist. And one of them is that I'm hyper fixated on making everything great. and that I'm hyper fixated on making everything great. That's the pro and con. And not everything does turn out great. And not everything is, yep, that went exactly to plan, right? If I can say, and being super transparent, this year, I think only 20% of the things that I had planned went according to plan. And you know what always stuck there was I always went outside, always did my walks, always did my stretching. I made my broths. I made sure that my nutrition was on point. We're not skipping meals around here. We're not doing that thing. Okay. Scientifically, if we continuously skip meals and we continuously say, nah, I'm just going to do that later. And exactly how you said, you don't put it in your schedule. Think about real quickly. Let's say you're not a wellness or a fitness or a health professional or a coach, right? Let's say you're a business or content creator or things like that. Think about how this is going to show up publicly. Think about this, right? And if we are skipping meals and we're skipping, our things that really are quote unquote self-care, because that itself is another subject, but your self-care, you're looking out for your health, you're looking out for those things that make you you, then that will pop up in, maybe again, talking about things not going your way or like being a perfectionist and things like that. Maybe that pops up as like, maybe you're acting out of scarcity at that point because you have been giving all this energy towards things that you cannot control, right? So what if instead we actually make the time to sit down, have a meal, have breakfast, have a lunch, go outside, do those things? And it really comes down to like, well, I'm not working hard enough. And I think I speak for 99% of like entrepreneurs. I don't work hard enough and I don't deserve this income, right?
Mhm.
But there's so much more to being an entrepreneur. There's so much more than just income. And on that other flip side is that if you are more mindful and when you are serving your clients, that just ends up happening is that you do end up having the income because instead of saying something, I talk about this all the time. In my Instagram stories, I talk about the same subject for at least a week, especially if it's brand new information for 1 week. Now, that can seem excessive if you're listening to this, or maybe you're a product based, but think about this. Things that I know about the online space and having a small business is that an audience or a person that is listening to you, they need to be told the same thing 20 times before they actually click in their mind that, yes, this person is now offering this service or this product or whatever 20 times. Not to the point where they actually click, but just to the point that they're like, oh, yeah, Geta has that one-on-one program thing, right? And so talk about that. Who are we to say that if we repeat ourselves 20 times, think about what that does to also our body. We're repeating the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, just for one person to be like, oh, okay, yes, I think I know that this week she's talking about dairy, right? And it's like, yes. And a lot of the times it's like, I did that last week, right? So if I'm doing that for my audience, then I need a lot of energy and I need a lot of focus to be like, okay, this is the way that I'm going to talk about dairy or lactose intolerance, literally in like 5 different ways. So to make sure that my audience understands what it is and making sure that, right, like for them to intake this new information. When we do that, again, focus, energy, all that, but it's also, are we able to do that for ourselves? Because our body works the same way. It needs to be boring. It needs to be repetitive. It needs to be sustainable for you, right? And so when we're doing the walk, the being outside, the doing all that, oh my gosh, I'm not doing enough. I'm not working. I'm not on my laptop. I'm not, like, stop doing that. Because like I said, it takes 20 times for someone else to understand that you're even doing something. For your body, it takes more times. takes more than 20 times for your body to say, oh, look, now I'm outside. Okay, I don't need to be on my laptop. I can leave my phone in the house. I can do those things and really just, oof, take a breath, calm that nervous system down so you are fully present when the time is needed.
Oh my gosh. Preach, mama, preach. My goodness. Like, I love that analogy though, because it's through repetition. It's repeating those same things over and over and over. And just like when you're building a business, it's not complicated. It's just doing those simple actions, making it a priority over and over and over. And really it comes down to showing respect for yourself, keeping promises to yourself, because the way you do the small things every single day, the way you're treating yourself, I mean, that's going to be the way that you do everything. And especially if you are a solopreneur, you are the CEO, right? You don't have a manager coming in, barking orders at you, holding you to that standard. You need to hold yourself to that standard. But if you don't even have the energy to be showing up, doing the things that will move the needle forward because you're so tired, you're so burnt out, because you just can't, you're in survival mode, you won't
Yes.
be able to grow a sustainable business. And it really boils down to what you said at the beginning, controlling the controllable, because there's so many things that we don't have control over, that if we can really focus on those things we do have control over, number one, being our health, that if we can take actions to support and sustain a healthy lifestyle, despite if you do have a chronic illness, despite if you do have these other challenges, it is possible. Yes, you may not like the circumstances that life threw your way, but you have the choice of how you respond to those. There are things you can do to make your life a little bit easier and to function alongside of those chronic conditions.
I even dare to say to actually stop having expectations. This is a
Mm.
big one. And I've been in the online space for 2.5 years, but I've been doing what I do for over 15 years now. And it kind of it's cohesive, is that stop having expectations. And my mother-in-law, I talk about this often on my Instagram, and I made a post a while ago, but this is so important in running a successful online practice, running a household, 2 kids, homeschooling, being a wife, being a mom, being a friend, right? Doing all these things, being all these other things for people, is this one thing right here. This is from my mother-in-law. So we're gonna give her all the credit. I love her to death. We're gonna give her all the credit. But this is what it is. We have 5 fingers on one hand. Check out your hand right now. Like, look at your hand. Each single finger looks different. Who are we to expect that every single day, every single thing, even if we do the same exact thing, coming back to this repetition, that it will always end up the same? Who are we to expect that? Right now, this may sound like we're heading for like mediocrity. This may sound like, like, okay, Jetta, like maybe you just don't care about, scaling your business or doing this or doing that. But this is that one aspect has helped me actually schedule in and make sure that I show up for myself, because everything else, my children, the only thing that I know about my children is that they wake up at the crack of dawn, and that they are,
Yes.
and I woke up at 5 a.m. yesterday to start on a client nutrition recommendation. And they literally woke up at 6 a.m. And I was like, huh, the entire reason I woke up at 5 a.m. is to literally start this and I can finish this and then have a coffee and sit in silence. But like none of that happened, right? So I still had to show up for myself yesterday in a different way. So it was more of like, instead of taking a walk and doing like that, it was more like resting, stretching. I took a nap with them. We woke up. We had a very nutrient dense meal. It was different. And that's what I mean by like, stop expecting just because I woke up at 5 a.m. like, yup, I'm gonna have everything done. Like, no, absolutely. In fact, I from 5 to 6, I got like 1 page done, because that's me. Hello, hi, perfectionist. And then that nutrition recommendation, it was like a 7-page long recommendation for my client. I gave it to her at noon, because from 6 until like 10, I was with my kids. We're homeschooling. I'm being present with my kids. So again, giving yourself that flexibility, that like, this is what I expect, is that I am doing what is needed. That's my expectation, not the outcome. Because if we're so stuck on the outcome, if we're so stuck on, whatever whatever outcome you're thinking about, whether it's income, whether it's clients, whether it's free time, whether it's, whatever success that you are thinking success is in your mind, throw that out, get it out of your mind, throw it out and say, you know what? This is my intention. This is my goal. Enjoy the journey and be flexible with how you get there.
Yes.
I think, yeah. I just want to add one last thing to that thought. If you are flexible in how you get there, we're coming back to yesterday's thing. I woke up at 5 thinking that everything, like, I'm going to finish and have a quiet breakfast. No, absolutely not. It's not what happened. But because I gave myself time and I told her by midday, you will have this, 2 things happened. That I let space there because I have children, right? And those are my priorities. So make sure your priorities are set. Those are my priorities. And I knew that in some shape or form, I'm going to make it work because I have it in my schedule that by midday, this client is going to receive this nutrition recommendation. So all 3 things got done. I woke up early. I did end up having breakfast. I did end up having, like, being with my kids and having that time together. And she still got the things that I told her that she will have. So see how this immediately is like, okay, my health, my mental health, my physical health, my sleep, my all that stuff, right? My kids, all that stuff, home life, right? Plus the client also got what she needed.
Oh, so, so good. Like, mic drop moment. It's true. It's true. That alleviates so much of the burden that we put on ourselves, that self-imposed burden, that unnecessary burden. Just releasing yourself from those expectations and embracing the journey, because we're always banking on this future thinking. We think one day. One day is not guaranteed. The only time that's guaranteed is this moment right here, right now. So we need to do our best to embrace that and prioritize what's important to us. And even just starting with, okay, what are your priorities? You need to put your health on that list. So if you have been pushing it to the side, re-listen to this episode. Really make it a priority, because when you prioritize your health, the wealth will follow. Geta,
yes,
this was an awesome conversation. I loved it. How can we get into your world, learn all the things about you? What's going on? Tell us all the things.
Yes. So you guys can find me on Instagram, jetas.digest, GETAS.digest, DIGEST. And I also have a Facebook community. If you are a chronic illness warrior and you really enjoyed this concept that I talk about, because I understand that some of the concepts that I talk about, that I don't do supplements and things like that, are a little bit different, but I'm not meant for everyone, and that's okay. So if you like that, join the Facebook group. It's just Jeta's Gut Health. If you type it in, it's the first one that pops up. And then for my bookworms, because I'm a bookworm, I love reading. It's actually a freebie that we just created, and I'm obsessed with it. It's literally just hand-picked book recommendations for whole body healing. So it's not just gut health, it's not just nutrition, but it's a list of 10 books that for anybody at any stage of any healing, whether it's chronic illness, mental, physical, anything that you want to expand your mind and expand yourself in the healing world, and say, okay, how is exactly health equals wealth? How really does that work? The link should be in the show notes for that, if you guys want to sign up for that. Like I said, it's just 10 books that are just for whole body healing. And
And you have a podcast.
And I have a podcast. Yes, I did. I did.
It's kind of a big deal, Geta.
Yeah, it is. Yes, I have a podcast. It is called Jeta's Digest. And yes, I have a podcast. We're on everywhere that you can find a podcast. Because I do gut health for chronic illness. We talk all things whole body. So even relationships, bowel movements, elimination diets, marriages. We talk about all things that include you and your uniqueness.
I love it. Get into her world, drop into her DMs. Jetta is such a wealth of knowledge. Thank you, Jetta, for taking time out of your busy schedule to pour into our listeners today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And as always, you're like one of the best soundboards ever. And you are just so amazing at what you do. So thank you.
Aw, thank you. The feeling is mutual. And until next time, embody your inner CEO. Are you loving what you're hearing? Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. Oh my gosh, I have got the best news to share. I've joined the Motivated CEO to the Podcast Her Network, the audio destination for ambitious women. I've wanted my podcast to have a home where I'm supported by other amazing entrepreneurs so that I can continue to add value to you, my listener. The Podcast Her Network supports, grows, and empowers shows just like mine. Check out the other featured podcasts in the network at podcasther.com/featured. If you're an ambitious podcast host like myself, join me in the network. The link's in the show notes.